Hey y'all, hey. Okay, so I'm gonna be adding a good friend, Shante, in here today. Let me see. I don't see her on there, so I'm probably gonna have to add her from her business page. Let's see. Hey, how you doing? Okay, so Shante is just hopping over. Hey there. So we're waiting on Shante. Once she joins, then I'll be able to invite her to come up and speak. So she's been one of the early when I first started with Bees Bayou. Hey, Alicia. With Bees Bayou, I met some amazing women through a foundation called New Voices. There she is, and she was one of the amazing founders that I met. So I'm excited to have her share about her luxury wig rental company, which is a really dope idea. I think it's so cool, and we'll get into entrepreneurship state of things right now because it's an interesting place for small businesses right now. And I think it's a great opportunity for us to share our stories, to learn from each other, to share resources with each other. So I'm excited to do that. So I think she'll be able to come in just a second. I'm adding her in as moderator. I think that's how that works. So we'll just wait and see. But this is all part of our Self Care September. And we're doing that because we've got a really cool announcement coming up next month for Beast Bayou. And we also want to share stories along the way. And we have a lot of founder friends who have a lot of amazing experiences. So I'm excited to talk to her about how she started her company. She's a co founder. So that's a whole nother experience from uh, creating a company yourself versus um, creating a company yourself versus with someone. So let me see. I might have to click invite again. Hey, Shante. Okay, I'm going to click invite again. I think maybe this time it will work. We got it. What's up,
Perfect.
girl? How you feeling? I love her
You're gonna be
hair.
virtually.
This color is so
Thank
pretty.
you.
Yes,
Thank you. It's a little fall
it's
color.
gorgeous. Well,
Thank you.
thanks for joining. I was just telling them, I think, did we meet through New Voices? I don't even remember.
No,
Like,
Black
Black
Ambition.
and no
Mhm.
way. That's so fun. It's,
Black Ambition, and then New Voices again.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's so crazy. Well, thank you so much for taking time to share with us during lunch today. I really want to, this is all part of like our self-care September. And I think what I really love about WellCapped is that you're helping women feel really good about themselves and giving, I just was watching, have you watched the Pop the Balloon dating show?
Someone literally, the call right before this, someone told me about that. I guess the girl pulled
Yeah.
her wig off on camera. Yeah.
And it's so funny. It's the newest episode of it. And it's this dating
Um,
show. Y'all have seen it. It's really good. It's very entertaining, good or bad. It's entertaining. But there was a girl on there who wanted to know from the guys, like, before y'all date me, I need you to know that I change my hair a lot, and I see how you feel about a woman who changes their hair a lot because I change my hair all the time. And she just whipped it up. She was like, "Should I do it? Should I do it?" And they were like, "No, don't do it." But it was so good. And I mean, her cut was so gorgeous. So like it looks gorgeous. But I was like, yes, do it. Cause I want to see your different looks. And I think that's like really fun. So I'm just curious, how did you decide to start WellCapped? And I know you're a co-founder, so tell us about that too.
Yeah, I'll start off with talking about the idea behind WellCap. I was in a venture studio, which is where they give you capital up front and work with you over like 16 weeks to come up with an idea.
Wow.
So the first 4 weeks, you're pitching a new idea every week virtually to a whole bunch of people. And 1 week, I had no clue what I was going to pitch. I was still consulting at PwC at the time. And I was on the phone with one of my favorite aunts, and I was like talking to her about the pitch, and she was the one who said, "You know that company Rent a Runway? Someone
Yeah.
should create something similar, but for hair extensions." And I was like, "Huh?"
I, uh,
At first, I did not. I wasn't a fan of the idea,
yeah.
but I was driving when we had the conversation, and I kept thinking, like, what would that look like if you could rent hair
Yeah,
extensions? Because I was spending like at least $200 per bundle at the
yeah,
time.
yeah.
So it was like, oh, that would be interesting if you could come up with a process to rent. So I started mapping out what that would look like. And I knew I was looking for three things. So I got my MBA from NYU. And one of my favorite professors used to say, if you're going to start a business, you want three things.
Mhm.
And the first is an antiquated model. So think about like a toothbrush. The way it looked in 1920 is the same way it looked
Yeah.
today. Not a lot of innovation.
Hmm.
And then the second thing that you want is a lot of room for growth. You want something that's outpacing the rate of inflation, which is high right now. But if it's double, beautiful. Mwah. So you want something that's growing at a fast rate. And then the third thing that you want is a fragmented market. You don't want to go into a market where there's already a category leader.
Mm,
I would never go into um, social media, right? I wouldn't create a social media platform because
right,
Meta owns that, and I don't want to compete against someone who has infinite resources.
right.
So hair made a lot of sense. And my aunt gave me the idea in 2021, and I didn't feel confident enough to leave my full-time job until 2022 after we were invited to do a TV show on Revolt
Yeah,
TV.
yeah.
It's
I'm gonna
called
ask
Bet on
you
Black.
about it. Uh-huh.
Yes, yes. So it's called Bet on Black. Not our best episode, but but it did like generate a lot of attention towards the company.
Yeah.
So after that, left Wayfair. I was at Wayfair at the time. Left
Mhm.
Wayfair, and I've been full time for over 2 years now.
Wow.
And my cousin, who's like a sister to me, she's a branding genius.
Mhm.
She joined last summer as my co-founder.
That's awesome. So we got a lot to unpack. This is amazing. So you started when? What year did you start?
2021. Well, that's when my aunt gave me the idea, and I
Yeah.
had like 5 wigs on a Squarespace page.
Wow.
So nothing happened really. We probably made $400 for the whole year.
That
So I don't count 2021. I count 2022.
that was just like the rev up. That was just the planning and the strategizing, figuring it really
And then,
started 2021, and that was like your first full year.
yes, and
Okay.
if you saw the wigs I had on the site back in 2021, because I was picking them out
Yeah.
myself, I was like, ooh, that one, ooh, she ate. It was like a asymmetrical
Yeah.
bob. Like,
So how do you decide? Let's get into that. How do you decide? Because I have other questions, but I'm gonna come back. How do you decide which wigs to choose for your? Because you are the curator. You're selecting what you want in your library. So how do you do that?
I wish I could tell you like I had this really well thought out process and I was like, let me look at this data. But honestly, I was looking at the catalog and was like, that one is cute. That is cute.
Uh-huh.
Spoiler alert, none of them were really cute. But I was
But
like, ooh, this,
okay, so how do you know? Was it customer feedback? Was it your cousin? Was it your auntie? Like who told you like
no one was
yay or
checking them out. People were excited about like the concept, like,
nay?
oh, that might be interesting, but no one was checking out. And then when I started, like, you wear wigs. Do you want to try one of these?
Mhm.
People were like, no, that's not really my style. So,
And okay, so that's everything you needed to
yeah,
know.
yeah,
So
yeah. I think I have pictures. I'll text them to you
that
later.
is funny. So how did you decide? Okay, you got feedback. You got that really quick feedback, which they always tell us like make those quick changes. Don't wait. Okay, so you're getting feedback. Where did you source your next level of wigs? Because now you're doing luxury. So how did you do your sourcing to find what people were going to be thirsty for, and really wanting?
Yeah, great question. So in the beginning, a lot of it was just intuition. So after I got the feedback, I started looking around at what people were actually wearing. So I guess not intuition, maybe just common sense.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, what are people wearing? They're not wearing like an asymmetrical bob. Like, people have the longer hair. What texture is it? And I started putting more of those styles on the site, which completely went against what my initial thoughts were, which was if people are going to rent hair extensions or wigs, it's going to be styles that they wouldn't typically buy. But that was completely wrong. People were getting renting things that looked conservative, like the everyday wig to me.
Yeah.
So they were renting them for the convenience, and that's where the subscription model came in.
Okay.
Um, like, okay, if you're going to keep coming back to us month after month and getting similar styles, can we make this a subscription model? And then when that happened, the pricing doors unlocked because now I'm able to recoup my customer acquisition costs over a longer period of time.
Right.
So I started mapping out like if they stay with us for 8 months, what could we price it at?
Uh,
And we already had a willingness to pay, so we knew what the ceiling was, what that top number was, and we got that from Forbes. Forbes told us that people were already spending $1,800 annually on hair extensions and wigs. Great. Now we have a willingness to pay.
yeah.
And then value lies in between the price that you're offering and where that willingness to pay is.
Mhm.
So I was like, I want my price to be low enough where we're offering a lot of value. So it's a no brainer because remember, this is still a new
Yeah.
concept. People aren't used
Yeah.
to the idea of renting hair.
Yeah.
So I wanted to make sure we were providing a lot of value. And in order to do that, I had to get the cost just low enough where the gap between the willingness to pay that 1,800 and that $100 a month made a lot of sense for customers.
Yeah. It's like finding that sweet spot for your pricing. But that was smart of you to use like consumer data that is already out there,
Hmm.
work backwards a little bit, and then also kind of use your intuition like, okay, I know what our customers are saying, and we can find a sweet spot and then like kind of just break it down. So I love
100%.
source you source the product um value based on that. What about like negotiating for your margins? Did you have to do any of that, like getting wigs in bulk, or like how did that process work out for y'all?
We had won some like pitch competitions, so we had capital to play around with a little bit.
Mhm.
And what we did basically initially, we were just buying wigs that were available here in Atlanta. I didn't know a lot about the hair industry, so I didn't realize how big, uh, how much of I didn't realize how big of a gap it was between like the cost of goods and what I was actually paying the retail prices.
Yeah.
So when we started sourcing the hair from overseas, that's when we were able to like leverage our negotiation skills a little bit and kind of get the different manufacturers to play against each other so that we could get better costs. And remember, we weren't ordering like high value. We were ordering maybe 30 bundles at a time, which
Yeah.
is about 10 wigs. So yeah, it's not like we had a lot of, it's not like we were going in there writing like multi-million dollar
Yeah.
checks. We were going in there with pennies, like trying to negotiate.
When you do, like you said, when you make the competition, then they're still going to want that bid.
Yeah,
Like they still want to win you over. So you get
mhm,
better rates for what you're putting out there, So
100%.
yeah.
Yes.
How was the transition for you going from solo founder to having a co-founder? Like what were some of the pluses and minuses, or if there were any minuses, but like what was that like for y'all?
The
And
plus there there are so many benefits to having a
yeah.
co-founder, and you want to make sure you have someone who complements your skill set.
Mhm.
So just having someone to split the workload with, someone to be a sounding board, someone to like check you, like, are you sure like this is contributing to the top line?
Yeah.
What does Bezos? I think Jeff Bezos says it all the time. Like only you do things that make your beer taste better. Anything else is a distraction.
Yeah.
So having someone to like check you and because I have a lot of crazy ideas, so having someone to be like, I don't know if this is a part of our little three-pronged strategy. Just and having someone to reel you in. I
Mhm.
think those are things that you can't really apply a
Yeah.
value to.
Yeah.
And then on the con side, you just move a little bit slower because you do have to check in with someone now before making a
Mhm.
decision. And then also, I would say um, you also once you're a solo founder, you have like a little bit of your groove, like you have a way of doing things.
Yeah.
And when you start working with not even having a co-founder, just bringing on a team, period, you do have to find a new
Yeah.
rhythm.
That's so true. And I think it's really cool though that you said like having somebody to kind of check and balance and also keep your strategy first and foremost. You know, how often as a team do you decide to review your strategy and say, okay, or like is it every quarter? Is it every year? How do you tend to do that for you guys?
We do it every week. We go through every week. We start off by going through a list of what we have to get
Yeah.
done, and then we strike down anything that's not contributing to the top line or to like a
Mhm.
strategy. Like right now, we're about to open up our pre-seed round.
Go ahead.
So it's like, okay, we do have things that aren't contributing to revenue, but it's helping make it's helping us make sure that we're prepared for this round and getting investors comfortable
Yeah.
with the company.
Yeah.
So yeah, just being smart about how you're using your time and your resources because as a startup, you are short on
Yeah.
both.
Absolutely. And you left so you're full time now, which is amazing. You know, how has that been? Was that a transition for you? Like going from, that steady, predictable pay to entrepreneurship and doing it completely yourself? Like, tell us about
One
it.
1000%. I went in very just naive.
Mm,
Um, and like just for context, like I was an intelligence officer in the Army. I have an MBA from NYU,
yeah.
and like worked in consulting. So I thought like, oh, renting wigs would be a piece of cake. So I was very anxious to leave corporate America. I put in like a 3 month notice. Like in 3 months, I will not be here.
Yeah.
And then I think that first year was probably one of the hardest years of my life. Like being like, what the heck did I get myself into? And um, it's almost like you have to learn how to do things. You have to learn how to move in a lot of ambiguity, like everything. And if you're not comfortable
That's a
with, I'm,
word. That's a word.
and I'm someone who
Ambiguity.
likes to,
Yeah.
ooh, a lot.
Yeah.
And I'm someone who likes to plan things out, but in the startup world, it is close to you should always have a plan, like always have a plan. But in the startup world, you have to recognize that things will not go according to plan, and you have to be flexible enough and nimble enough to pivot when things don't go according to that plan. And that was like very hard for me in that first year, like trying to play chess when I didn't even know what the chessboard looked like. It was a very difficult game.
I get it. It's so like I haven't I like even when I do grant applications and stuff now and they always ask, "Are you full-time in your business?" I'm like, I want to answer yes because I know what you're trying to ask, but yes, I am. This is all I pretty much do all day.
Yes.
But in terms of like the same thing, we're raising and we started raising last year. And that process is one of those like it's another job on top of your job, on top of what
Mhm.
you do. So it's like those early years of building the foundation. But I feel like you all have done an amazing job.
Thank you.
Like
Thank you so much.
yeah, like what you've built from, and somebody in the comments was just saying, like, that's such a great idea. Something that people wouldn't really think about, but kind of like the rent the runway, but for your hair. Like, have you had some really cool stories come from some of your customers about like their wig rental experiences or where they went with the wig or they got married or they went, like, have you heard
Yes.
any like,
We have done a few
yeah,
weddings, which I get really excited about. Only because I never thought of WellCapped as like a wedding accessory.
yeah,
But it made me start thinking like, oh, do we need to make this like do we need to have another tier of like event rentals for like high end events like weddings and proms and
yeah,
vacations? I'm trying to think. We have customers who, when we first started off, I didn't have a Google phone number
uh,
or anything. Now we use Open Phone, which is similar to Google Phone. but I was giving out my personal phone number. So a lot of customers from the early days still have my phone number. So they'll text me pictures of their styles, and I'm like, okay, girl, yeah.
That's
Like,
so
we're
fun.
friends at this point.
So funny. I remember like the same thing. I would get customer service calls just to my phone because like I didn't really have. It was so early, and it was like people on Etsy and stuff before. Even I think before we had our own website. But I would get their phone calls, and so I would answer the phone like, "Hi, how you doing? How can I help you today?"
Did that make you hate your phone?
A little bit. It,
Yeah, I love our
yeah,
customers, but I think because I had the same phone number for like over 10 years,
yeah,
and maybe longer than that now, over 15
yeah,
years since college.
yeah.
Um, so my phone, I don't know, like I get so much anxiety from looking at my phone
Under,
now. I do, like it's to the point where,
I understand. Yeah,
yeah,
I
it's bad.
I'm really grateful for Do Not Disturb. Like it is wonderful. At least the new, because you know the new Do Not Disturb, you can set
Who
the
can't
kind
reach you?
to reach you,
Yeah.
and then don't. So that has helped me get a little bit of balance for all the different things because it's like old job stuff coming in, new job stuff, Bees Bayou stuff. It's like it's family, friends. So I have to kind of categorize it for my sanity. But you mentioned open phone. Are there other tools that you recommend for entrepreneurs that have made your life easier in running your business that you can share?
100%. Open phone, Claude, which is just like ChatGPT, but I like it a little bit better.
Hmm.
And then Notion, I love Notion just for keeping things organized. I still use Google Sheets for project management, just a quick drop down. What's the stage?
Yeah.
I don't want to overcomplicate anything. What else do I use every day? Um, Hmm. I keep it really simple.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think if there's any apps where I'm like, oh, this is a game changer.
Click.
Hmm.
I
Oh,
so I haven't I click up, but I ended up with Asana. But I did test
hmm.
it out just to see if I would like it. And I did. I did actually really like it. But Asana just kind of had a little bit simpler, streamlined thing for me. So I just kind of kept it and kept rolling with it. But I think that's a good one to also check out for small businesses, though. And they have a lot of good YouTube videos on ClickUp, too, to show you how to use it and stuff.
And um, Notion now has an internal project management tool.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so that makes life a little bit easier too. But I like Excel. I mean, not Excel, Google Sheets.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. Find to like one or two tools for communicating with the team and keeping stuff together is enough. And then everything else kind of supplements, that communication. But congratulations on getting started with your pre-seed. I know that you have also won grants. And that's something that I've been recommending to a lot of the first that I meet. It's like, yo, go look for the grants. They're out there. They're posting them all the time. What you want to add?
And a quick tip, because I used to be like, who has time to apply for all of that? But now I apply for grants in like 3 minutes. And what I do is I use our answers from Black Ambition. So I put all of the questions and my responses in a Google Doc. And then I upload it to ChatGPT. Well, in my case, Claude
Yeah,
AI. And then I upload the terms and conditions for those grants, like what they're looking for, how they're grading people. And then I upload the questions that they're asking. And I say, hey, please answer this. And then it's literally copy and paste. And that saves me so much time.
that is so smart. You've taken it a next level. See, all I do is kind of save some of my responses
Mhm.
in a Google Sheet. And it's easy for me because I can just control F and find the title and then I find it and then I can like re-update it. But that takes it to another level. I never thought that. And
Mhm. See?
terms and conditions, you know, because somebody has asked me, she was like, I'm applying for all these grants and I'm not getting any of them. Like, do you have tips? And I'm like, I don't know necessarily that there's some magic. I just I don't know, just, I don't, and a lot of times you don't really like, what they're looking for, but there's so many amazing companies, like, to know where you're going to fall, just do the best you can. But that is some really great advice. Do you have other advice for grant writing, for finding grants?
Yeah, my biggest tip would be one, know your point of differentiation, like what sets you apart.
Yeah.
And then two, be very clear on your mission. Like, what's your bigger mission? Because if you're just out here selling blankets, okay,
Right.
there's a million other people selling blankets. Like, what sets you apart?
Right.
What makes you different, and then what's your bigger purpose. Like, I think the mission, one thing that I like to do, and this is going to make me sound like such a nerd, but I really really do enjoy reading annual reports of like some of my favorite
Me too.
companies. And I
Like
don't go into like the fight.
organization charts too. Like that's one of my favorite things, is to go to,
Oh,
hey man, is to go to the
yeah.
org, like the website, the org, and you can put
Yes.
pretty much any
Oh,
company, and you can see
oh,
down of that company
oh.
to your LinkedIn page. So you can see them on LinkedIn as well. I love that website.
Yeah, I never tried that. I'm gonna look that
Yes.
up. But what I'll do is I love reading like the annual reports. I just got done reading the one for Hermes, which is so beautiful. I sent it to my co-founder because I'm like, oh my God, this is so pretty. It's very, very
Uh-huh.
long, but it's so beautiful. And what they'll do, a lot of them start off with talking about their mission, right?
Mhm.
And for Netflix, I think it's to entertain the world or to make people happy. I think it's to entertain the world.
Mhm.
And it's just a simple mission. Like, keep it simple, don't overcomplicate it.
Yeah.
And then they'll go into like the different risk that you're signing up for if you become a public shareholder. And that, and then they'll go into like their strategy, like how they're thinking about allocating capital, what they're spending on. And that allows me to think like, oh, well, do we want to be vertically integrated if like manufacturing is like a whole different pipeline that you have to create, or do we want to get our hands in like what lines of business do we actually want to be in? Like right now we're in a lot where and where we are vertically integrated, we get the hair from overseas, we source it, but
Mhm.
all of the wigs are made here in America in either Atlanta or Houston. And that's because I'm really big on equality. Like, I don't want you to
Yeah.
get one of our wigs and be like, girl, I could have ordered this from Shein.
Yeah.
Like,
And that,
uh,
like, I love that. And it's creating more, I don't want to say it's creating jobs, but it is like somebody has to do it.
see, and that's what Hermes did. So they were so smart. They're creating, I think, over 500 jobs in France every year.
Wow.
And right now they have 7,000 craftsmen, if I remember correctly.
Mhm.
And what they did, because they're creating self, they own their whole talent pipeline. Because I don't know if you all everything's handmade and handcrafted. So they have to own. No one's out there like teaching kids in high school or in college how to put together leather handbags. So they have to train their own future employees. And what they did was partner with the French government to come up with these different apprenticeships to and said, hey, we're offering this is like a highly traded good coming export coming from France. Can you guys help subsidize the cost of these training programs? And I think that's so genius.
That's
So it's like, how can we replicate that in
right.
Atlanta?
Right.
Hmm.
Listen, and if any, I know you're gonna do it. Like that is so dope. And it's smart studying the annual reports of companies, whether they're in your industry or not, because that's how you really can see what's at
Mhm.
a global scale, because they have access to resources and
Yep.
information to help get that data that we may not always have access to, or if we do have access to, we have to pay for it.
Hmm.
If you already have it in your report, and or Forbes has it, or Nielsen has it, or Medium has it, then it's smart that you're doing that research before you make some of those big decisions like that. That
100%.
is a key tip. What's something that you wish you would have known before you started, or someone would have?
Um, I think that actually is a good segue from your last question. Well, I think my answer is a good segue from your last question.
Hmm.
So before I started WellCap, when my aunt first gave me the idea, the first thing that I did was went through the annual report of Rent the Runway. Actually,
Hmm.
no, it wasn't an annual report. They were about to announce their IPO, so they had filed their S1. So I started reading through and like figuring out what was working and what wasn't working. And one thing, they get all of their clothing from different brands, designers, and retailers. So a mix of all three. They don't make anything so they're not vertically integrated. And that may have changed now. This was 3 years ago. And one thing that they were having a big issue with was the sizing part, because you have to have size 0 all the way up to size 16. And then you have to make sure you have the right product mix. What do you have in stock? And on top of that, fashion dies. Like bell bottoms are in for 5 years or maybe 2 years, and then they're out. But you know what doesn't die? This bob. The bob is always going to be bobbing, okay?
That's
So,
that's yeah.
and then hair is also lightweight.
Hmm.
So it's easy, very cheap to
Yeah.
ship. And then on top of that, you also have one size fits all. Like most wigs fits everyone. Everyone fits in like the 21 to 22 or 21.5 centimeter cap.
Interesting.
Then we have a few in small and then a few in large, but those are really outliers. So the
Mhm.
majority of our customers are able to fit the majority of our
That's
inventory. So, except for my big head, but but everyone else could fit their wigs.
so. Yes, so you all okay, so you have your selection. How did you go about figuring out how to keep the wigs fresh over and over? Or is there like a lifetime where you're like, okay, we're going to retire this one because it's been in rotation a certain number of times? Like, how have you gone through
That
that?
that was really hard. We sat down with, so there was already this emerging market of people who were revitalizing hair extensions and wigs for different hairstylists in Atlanta, of course. Where else would that be? But it was like
Becca,
they're called hair laundry mats. So you take your hair there, and they basically bring it back to life.
wow,
And the way that it typically works is that it's people like it's your own hair, so the sanitization part isn't necessary. But our timing was so perfect because these shops were popping up that revitalized hair. We have a company where we need hair to be revitalized. We
wow,
just had to come up with that little in between step, that sanitization process, to make sure that everything was cleansed and safe. Because I'm really big on like like making sure people are
yeah,
good and safe, and we are not trying to get sued. um, so I worked with a hairstylist and my cousin, who is a physician assistant, to make sure that we had chemicals in place that all bacteria and fungi would be killed.
wow, that's amazing. Like,
Yeah.
thought of everything. Check, 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 check.
Timing was on our side,
Yeah.
definitely.
How was your experience on Bet on Black? Tell us all about it.
It was.
And I mean, that listen, I can imagine. Well, how was your experience on Bet on Black?
It was a good
You got
time.
it on TV. It's pretty dope.
Yeah, but it made me realize I could never do reality TV because I kept forgetting my mic was on. I kept forgetting my mic was on, and I would say something to like my co-founder, and I would look over, and the production assistant would be like cracking up laughing, and I'm like, "Oh Lord, he heard me." Like,
Everything
I said, "Jesus, I hope we didn't sign anything." 'Cause
is so funny. But that has to be, I mean, do you feel like the response from the show overall, I'm sure, because as customers and as the consumer, as the general public, we're not judging you on your pitching. Like that's not what people are watching for. They want to learn about the different black owned businesses and possibly and hopefully become customers of those businesses. So like that's the point. So do you feel like you got that feedback from people
100.
idea. They wanted to become customers. They want to share you with their dermatologists, their their beauticians, their aunties, their moms. Like, how was that feedback?
100%. We had people like reaching out to us. email and on our customer service
Yeah.
phone, aka my phone, like asking when we were launching because when we went on Bet on Black, we were waitlist only.
Really?
So people were like, "Oh, yeah." I was still working at Wayfair,
Mhm.
and that like that traction, seeing people like sign up for the wait list, I think that is what it took for me to be able to say, okay, maybe I could be a full time entrepreneur. So,
And give,
um,
you know?
yeah, it was from there. It's been quite a ride. We also that same month that we were on Bet on Black, so we filmed Bet on Black, I believe, in January, but they didn't
That's
release it until 2 months later. No, this is 2022. Right
okay.
before I left my job,
'Cause-
April
Yeah,
2022.
because y'all were what, like season two?
Yeah,
Was this
I
okay?
believe it was season two or season one. I think
Okay.
it was season two. We had T Pain, wherever T Pain was,
Okay.
where we were.
Okay. That's so
Um,
dope.
yeah, it was fun. But that same year, one of my mentors was talking to his LP. So an LP is a limited partner. It's someone who invests in venture capital firms. So one of our mentors, who also has his own VC fund, was
Mhm.
talking to one of his LPs about our company, and the LP happened to serve as counsel for Rent and Runway right before they went public. So right away, he understood what we were trying to build,
Wow.
and like they were just having a casual conversation. And the guy, he hadn't seen a website, a pitch deck, or anything. He was like, "Hey, send me their bank account information. I'll invest $50,000."
Oh,
So my mentor like sent me a text like, "Hey Shante, could you send me your bank account info? Talking to a guy who wants to put in 50K." But I
yeah.
thought it was like a spam or like someone trying to hack me. So I didn't respond, and then he called me 2 hours later, like, "Girl, can you send
Right.
me your bank account information before this man get on the plane?" I'm like,
That's amazing. That's you have a good idea that is serving a problem that's not being solved because immediately he understood it and immediately
yeah,
part of it.
yeah,
Can you
it was.
share with us because I know we have a mix of folks at least I think that are still listening right now. So we've got some investor folks on here, we've got some other founder friends in here, marketing friends and everything. Can you explain that fundraising process? Like have you I know you're about to launch your official pre-seed, but what made you want to make that decision now? Like how what is that catalyst where you're like, okay, I think now is the time for us to raise a
Yeah, I love that question. When we first decided to start investing in social media advertising, we hired a growth hacker, a contractor to like help us figure out how to allocate the dollars. And she's used to like working with companies that are like doing seven figure months,
yeah
and that's just not who we were.
yeah
So she like suggested a budget, and I said, okay, we can afford 1% of that.
yeah what
Like, that 1%,
is that?
that 1% was still $300 a day.
Wow.
So we tried it for a month, and I was like holding my breath because we were losing so much money, and I'm
Mhm.
just watching the money fly out the
Yeah,
bank. You know,
I
$300 a day for a startup.
I understand.
And
Yep.
we were seeing like maybe a sale come through every 3 days. So just to you to do the simple math, we're spending
Yeah,
$300 a day. That's $900 every 3 days. We only make $100 in revenue from that first month rental.
yeah.
So I was getting nervous, like, I don't know. Let me start looking up jobs. Delta, are you hiring? Like,
Ooh, Lord,
like Delta.
this market,
um,
girl. Yeah,
yeah, like this may not be what I thought.
yeah.
But luckily, so it all the way God works is so funny. The next month we started realizing like our bank account is getting really low. We might have to go to 0.1%.
Yeah.
So we started doing $30 a day.
Hmm.
And I don't know what happened, if Meta felt bad for us or what. But like everything started to turn around. And we started to see like a return on our ads. It was like
Hmm.
2.7% when we first started. And that happened right before we were about to like pull completely out of advertising.
Uh-huh.
So now we're getting to the point where it's like we are keeping up with demand by having things made as soon as they're placed.
Mm,
But it's like now that we prove that we know how to acquire customers, that people are comfortable with renting wigs, now the next part is us investing in our inventory and making sure that we're able to keep up with that, telling the brand credibility, so improving our user experience with a better website. Right now, we have a lot of manual back end
yeah,
processes, and then also making sure that we are investing in cleaning or freeing up some cash flow. So we
mm,
pay $30 for each wig to be sanitized and cleansed, then
mm,
$15 shipping round trip. So if you're doing the math on that, every time we bring in a dollar, 45 cents is going just towards
yeah,
sanitization and then the round trip shipping. So we did some capacity planning around that and realized that we could get the cost down to $11 per unit if we hired someone to be full time
yeah,
um, to do that part. So yeah, now once we figured out our little formula,
yeah.
then we got comfortable enough to get in front of investors. And the way that process works is you come up with a list. The number that was recommended to us was 200.
Mm,
Back in 2021, I think people were saying you want to reach out to 100 investors. But
yeah,
because of the current economic environment, that number has doubled.
yeah.
They're saying you need to target 200 investors now.
And
So,
this is a great way to do that, though. Like a group pitch where you can get a bunch of angel investors
mhm.
together. And there's an amazing woman that I met through LinkedIn. I just happened to be scrolling through LinkedIn, and I saw something that said Founder Pitch Week, and I was like, what is this? I've never heard of that. And she gets investor friends together so that way your company can pitch in front of maybe 40 to 100 at a time. But I definitely agree that like 100 is not enough.
Yeah.
We like started
No, you need to.
like May of last year, and
Hmm.
it's been like a mix of SSBCI funding programs. The timeline on that is usually very, very long. So it doesn't matter if they give you a yes, expect it the next year or the year after. It
Wow.
takes a very long. Then you've got angel groups and you've got individual angels and you've got, thank God, Black Ambition came in and we got, pipeline angels.
Congrats on that, by the way.
Thank you.
That is amazing.
Thank you. I mean, every bit counts, but it's true. Like 100 investors to pitch is nowhere near enough. Like you got
No.
to.
Yeah, we haven't done this before. This is our first time doing it. We've reached out to at the most I probably knocked on 10 doors and I was like, whoop, whoop, that didn't work.
You got because you have your formula down.
Yes.
You know exactly what you're pitching, what you're looking for, and one of the pieces of advice that honestly it went in one ear and kind of out the other until I had to experience it was when they say you don't want everybody's money.
Yeah.
I didn't. I had to experience it because in my mind I'm like money is money and that is a resource and a tool that I need for my business. But I had an experience with a particular group where I was so relieved after it did not work out that it didn't work out. Once I learned,
Mhm.
like, wait, why did this? What happened here? Like, what's going on? And when I learned that, I was like, you know what? That was God's protection because had I taken that money from that group of individuals, I would have regretted it. And honestly, God probably would have wanted to give you your money back and just be like, don't worry about it.
Like, hey girl, you gotta have it back.
You have like had a call yesterday with a group of friends. I'm sorry, I'm holding
Hey,
overtime, but
it's
we had
fine.
a call yesterday with a group of founder friends that we happened to be in a cohort together and we wanted to just connect, check in with each other. We hadn't seen each other in like a year. And one of the founders is emotional right now because she may have to get out of her company because of taking money from the wrong investor.
Oh,
We were kind of going back and forth to give her some advice on what she could do instead, or how to do it but still buy her company back or do something. And it just was another reminder, like, you're right, like you really do want to do due diligence on your potential investors as much as they are doing due diligence on you. Some investors want to be involved in the day to day.
yeah,
Some people want to write a check. I wish you the best. Let me know how it's going if you do have an emergency. Otherwise, I'm just giving this to you because I want to support you.
yeah.
Whereas you have others that want to like be on top of every detail, and there's a mix. But
Mhm.
in the conversations you've had so far, like, are you learning new things that you didn't think about before, or like, how do you?
Yeah. So the way Techstars broke down how to do a proper fundraising round, and I was so grateful for that because I realized I had been doing it wrong. So you
Mm,
have this spreadsheet of all your target investors. It's 200 people on there, and then you have wave one. I'm doing four waves, so wave
mhm,
one, wave two, wave three, wave four. With wave one being like the people who these are good fit,
yeah,
like these are definitely people I want on my cap table. Other people go after people who may be lower tier investors, like smaller funds or however you want to define lower tier.
mhm.
And they start there. That way, like you can work your way up to the good people and like perfect your pitch.
That's,
But you know, your girl is ambitious, so I'm starting with the people
I'm
who I
sorry.
like. I'm thinking of it. You know how it's like to me. It's like almost like dating.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna start with the guys who I barely like and then hope like I no because if I get a yes from them, I'm still looking at the people who I really like. So like,
that's a good analogy.
I'm starting with the
That-
people who I really, really, really want on my cap table and
Yeah,
then moving my way like to wave two, wave three, wave four.
yeah,
But cold intros do not work. Like when they say fill out your this form and we'll meet with you. So you really want to hit up people
yeah,
on LinkedIn,
yeah.
people in your network to say, hey, who do you know? So I'm actually sitting down with Sadesha from Black Ambition.
Got
I'll be sitting down with her next week to see who she knows, like anyone in my network who I know is well connected, seeing who knows who from wave one.
Yeah,
That way they can send out the warm intro, which I already have put together, so they don't have to do any work
that's
but control C,
here's
control V. Yes.
all
Yeah.
you it. And okay, and so people know, because I know I'm not sure. I know there's a mix of friends that are on the call that are listening. For founder friends, for us, I know ours is not too long, like that little blip, and then
Hmm.
highlights and contact. Is
Yeah.
how
I'm
do
gonna
you?
A/B test it. I'm gonna A/B test. So I'm gonna see how the long one works
Yeah,
and then how the short one. I have one that's like two sentences, like
mm,
here's what the company is doing, here's the highlights. And
yeah,
I'll see which one has a better response rate and then move forward with that one.
that's
Yeah.
smart. That's exciting. You got it's been an interesting and amazing journey for WellCapped from
Thank
that
you.
that your auntie planted. Shout out auntie.
Yes, let's go, dark shit.
Yes, planting the seed all the way to getting that initial customer feedback of what they like, what they like to wear, what styles, etc. Doing the negotiation with your manufacturers, bringing in the bundles that you need so you can have things made here in the
Yeah.
state. Setting up your vertical, like doing the consumer research. You know, we talked about the data, and I think all of that comes together, and then putting yourself out there, like, you know, pitching on TV. Like, you have to be brave to do these things. Like, either you have to be brave, and now at the point where you feel like you've got your formula down, you know, the cash flow that you're looking to, that you're doing now and that you want to achieve, and you're ready to pitch and bring that to investors. How have you been able to maintain the self-care throughout all of this? Because it's a lot you went through, working full-time in corporate to now full-time in entrepreneurship. So where does Shante find that self-care time?
You don't see these bags up under my eyes.
No, the concealer in the light is doing it. Okay, we see nothing. So what you're talking about?
No, but I definitely had like gained the I'm gonna call it the founder 15.
Mhm.
And it leads to other problems like now I'm sleeping longer and now I don't have a lot of energy throughout the day. So starting in June, I started doing this thing where I call it like drop everything and run because you can always fit in at least a 15-minute run. So at a minimum, I'm getting outside and running at least I try to do 2 miles, but sometimes it's more like a
Yeah.
mile, so maybe a mile and a half. And then I try to make sure I watch what I'm eating. And then once a month, like on a Sunday, I do nothing, like absolutely nothing. I just sit in the house, like play my jazz music, light my
Yeah.
candles, do like an at-home facial, because you know we're on a founder salary, so the facials are at home nowadays.
Hey, too. Yeah.
And
Good.
then making sure I'm taking time to like visit family and friends when possible and recognizing that everything happens in seasons. Like you're always going to have a busy season. Like that's okay. I'm okay with grinding as long as I know it's followed by like a slow season.
Yeah, need some recovery time.
You really
Yeah,
do.
that's my new thing is recovery time because I would go, 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 go because you're excited. Like you're not
Yeah.
barely thinking about what's happening internally. You're just like, I see what's happening and I've got work to do. I'm in you have a co-founder now, which is great, but
Yeah.
there's always some balance there. So like you're still working and then it catches up. So it's good that you have that built in. Somebody asked, oh,
I'm gonna check it out. Selfie
yeah,
Skin Co. Yes, I have a steamer at home. I have the whole setup. I put my
yeah,
little band on, light my candles, play my music.
I- it's so necessary. I love my self-care Sunday. Like it's so necessary. Okay, so where can people find, well, first of all, where can people follow you, but then also where can they rent their luxury wigs?
www.wellcapped.com. And then I'm at Shante Lene Lene 12. And of course at WellCapped on Instagram. And then I'm on LinkedIn. I have not been active because we're preparing to open up our pre-seed round and it's
Yeah.
in whole jobs. But normally I do try to be vocal on LinkedIn. It just hasn't been happening lately.
Yeah, no, I understand, girl. It's so much. It's the balancing act of it all, but it's good to see you. I'm so excited for you. I got some other questions for you, but I'm going to text them to you.
Okay.
About to share them yet, but you would know the answers that I need.
Okay. Okay. And I can't wait to see your announcement
Yeah,
next week.
yeah, I'm going to text. But thank you so much for coming and sharing. I really do appreciate it. This was just a really like spur of the moment idea that our little team had come up with
I
for
love
September, like
it.
for self-care. Let's talk to people about their self-care. And I was like, we're going to talk to founders because we're the ones that need checking in on. Okay. But I appreciate you so much. Thanks for all the tips that you shared, the tools that you shared. I'm wishing you the absolute best on your pre-seed raise. I know it's going to be amazing and successful. Is your goal to finish it before the end of the year?
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
Right. Tier
Yeah, we have to get
like
it done.
2 till 3, tier 4.
Hmm.
Wrap it up for the holidays and start fresh for 2025. Ready to go.
Yep,
Yeah,
that's the goal.
I understand, y'all. Well, thank you so much, Shante. I appreciate you. You
Thank
enjoy the rest of
you.
the day.
You too. Have a good
All
one.
right, talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye.